Welcome to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden. Glad you could join me and hope you enjoy the discussion today. I have Jim Van Engen on the line. He's from Right Start Kennel. Well, what can I say? When George Hickox recommends an interview subject, I call, and I did. So we're going to listen to him. Right Start is the name of his kennel because he believes the first 2 years of a dog's life are the most important, and we will be talking about that, among other things. We'll also go on a quick chucker and quail hunt. I'll share a little bit of one of my recent adventures. Then we'll talk about the Upland Nation Index survey and what you tell me your favorite bird species is. Of course, there's a chance to win that Sage and Breaker gun cleaning mat with our Fur Feathers Friends Word of the Week. And in our Fix It segment, I got a suggestion or two for adding a bird to your bag on each hunt. It's all made possible by Sage and Breaker Gun Care Products, Pointer Shotguns, Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, TrueLock Choke Tubes, MidwayUSA.com, and Purina Pro Plan Sport. Well, out here in the West, you never know what the weather's going to be like, so I've adopted an attitude that I'll talk more about in coming weeks. I'm calling it chasing blue skies and dry ground. Yeah, this time of year, you never know. But I've had some good luck in recent trips, and I'll share just one example of that. Out in a place on the Great Basin where I spend a lot of time. In fact, enjoy the people as much as the hunting sometimes. So I spend a lot more time there than I should, but that's okay. And I don't think they mind. But anyway, here was a chance to start at the bottom of a draw and work my way up the hill. Steep, rugged country, sagebrush, not even any juniper trees. That's how dry it was out there. Little water. The Great Basin is where streams go to die, and this is one of those. The further upstream you walked, the better the current became. In fact, at the very bottom, it basically petered out and soaked into the soil. But if there's water there might be birds there even this time of year, but there's no more snow in most of the huntable places. The high country, yes, but down there, pretty dry. So work and flick up the hill, and bottom of the hill, valley quail here and there. Good time. Got to the uphill part where it flattened out a little in a few spots, and there were the chuckers. But the funnest, the funnest thing that happened that day was looking for him in a very deep, gloomy ravine. He was at the bottom, on point. So I have to scramble all the way down, and then I had to scramble up the hill a little bit so that I could find him on one side of about a 3-foot diameter boulder. And if you just looked at him from a distance, you'd think he was pointing the boulder. But I have faith in his nose, and he was rock solid. I mean, this is, I don't trust myself enough to take a picture of this kind of stuff. I wish I did. But I knew there had to be something in there. And as per usual, I'm looking around for a rock to throw on the other side of the boulder when I don't even have to bother. Here goes the bird. It goes right over the boulder, right over him, heading straight down the hill. This will come in handy later in the broadcast, by the way. Straight down the hill. So I got a twisting left to right, worst shot for a cross-dominant righty, I guess. But close enough and far enough. Slammed that bird. Flick, of course, was off at the shot. That's okay on these kind of hunts. And nice clean retrieve. All the way back up the hill. Yeah, I let him carry it all the way back up. Why not? That's his paycheck, too. Anyway, good time was had by all. And speaking of good times, It always fascinates me to know what you're thinking and what you're doing, and that's what the Upland Nation Index is all about. Once a year, I ask you about 25 questions, and one of them is, what bird species do you hunt most frequently? Well, you can probably guess. Top of the list with 70% of you saying it's pheasants. I get it. Big, gaudy, beautiful, fun. Almost always kind of the trip of the year for most of us. We're all going somewhere. Well, most of us are going somewhere else, probably with friends or family. Yeah, but, believe it or not, what's next on the list? Quail. Now, I didn't narrow it down beyond that, but quail are the second favorite or most frequently hunted bird. Third on the list, I thought this was quite surprising till I realized how vast the range is, and you know it too. Ruffed grouse. And then there are those folks who are willing to get up early and stay cold and wet most of the day. Yeah. The next on the list, ducks. So if you're one of those, more power to you. Try and stay out of your way. I do hunt a lot of waterfowl refuges, but I'm usually there when the weather is good for me and bad for you. Fascinating stuff there. Some of it not a surprise. Some of it, yes, a surprise. Interestingly enough, 17% of you say you're hunting chukars these days, which is outranking all the prairie grouse and all the geese and all the woodcock, for that matter. Now, that survey is still going on, so if you got an invitation to take that survey, go ahead and fill in the blanks for us. That'll be very helpful. Yeah, well, there you go, the Upland Nation Index. Great survey. Thank you for your participation. And that part of the show is brought to you by Pointer Shotguns. Even this late in the season, your gun is likely in stock at a Pointer dealer. So if it's your turn to gift yourself, or if somebody is willing to help with that, head over to pointershotguns.com. Start poking around, figuring out what kind of gun you want, what finish you want, and what color if you want a Cerakoted cool gun for the blind or for the field. Yeah, your first stop for an upgrade, whether it's from semi to over and under or on up to the side-by-sides, it ought to be pointershotguns.com. And if you're looking to save money on shipping, after this brutal holiday season, then midwayusa.com might be a good stop for you. This time of year, we're always needing a new pair of socks or foul weather gear. They've got it, and if you order $99 or more of clothing at midwayusa.com, it ships free. As I've told you before, the shipping is it's very impressive. I've watched those semi-trailers get loaded up, and as I've said, if you place your order before 3 p.m. Eastern Time, that will go out that day. MidwayUSA.com, customer satisfaction is their number one goal. Well, as I said in the introduction, when George Hickox recommends somebody to be on the podcast, I say, yes, sir. And I call that guy. And that guy this week is Jim Van Engen with Right Start Kennel. You'll get the idea behind the name in just a moment. But first off, Jim, congratulations. Tell me more.
Well, there's... I knew nothing but young dogs is what we do here, anywhere from 6 months to 2 years old. We had over 1,500, been at it 48 years. Just retired here in November. So life is a little bit different. I still have a couple of dogs and a couple pointing dogs, but just raising one lab for a friend now and getting ready for Christmas. So,
but you're also getting ready for one more thing, and that's, a very late winter. You're heading down to someplace to receive some recognition, aren't you?
Heading to, it would be in Grand Junction, the Retriever Bird Dog Hall of Fame. Myself and one other fella are being inducted along with 2 retrievers, and so that would be February 8th. Quite the honor. It's you get voted on by people around the country, and this year I was put up and I received enough votes, so I'm going into the Hall of Fame here February 8th. Quite the honor.
Yeah, I'll say, and that I get all that to a small degree. How do you earn a place in the Hall of Fame? I mean, what do you think? Why do you think people put you up for that recognition?
The number of dogs that I've put out or started here, I've put out more field champions, young field champions, close. It's right at 199 dogs to be a matter of fact. 13 national champions, and we call it double header wins, where you win an open and an amateur on the same weekend with the same guy handling the dog. And there might be maybe 6 dogs a year who are really good enough to accomplish that.
Wow.
We've had dogs that go on and have won it 19 times. So it's then being in this, I help out at a lot of field trials. I do seminars around the country. I open my property up. When there's a field trial, I always help. I'm always there helping, lending a hand. Hey, you need me to do this, do that. And a lot of people know when I come there, hey, Jim he'll take care of this and run this for us. And, we need the people like this to keep this game going. So I always volunteer, and I usually bring help along and do whatever I can to, make the sport better.
Well, it's fascinating to hear the way you describe that, because there's the performance side, if you want to call it, but then there's the, for lack of a better term, the volunteer side, and it's good to hear that people are being recognized for a combination of the two.
Well, the dogs still have to perform, and they're looking, to win and get things and look respectable and go on and look like dogs are happy to be here and want to do their work. I have my brother Brian here, who's been helping me out for like 25 years, and together the two of us, a pretty good combination. We all the champions we made are started for other pros, a lot of top pros in the country. We start their young dogs, and it's quite the honor.
Let's talk about that, because that's what got me interested when George Hickox mentioned what you do, what your professional calling is. Why don't you describe it in a little bit more detail, how you take a young dog to a certain point, and what happens before that, what happens after that?
We typically get them in, like to get the puppies in somewhere around 6-7 months old. And we hope the owners have done a lot with them. I have a couple DVDs out, and I'm hoping they check those on out. It just makes training so much easier if the people have started the dog the right way. I've had people have dropped them off here and said, geez, Jim, I didn't do anything with them. I didn't want to make a mistake. And I always said, well, that's your first mistake. The more you can do when you're younger, a lot of times my job is much easier. You just got to stimulate that brain to start working with you, to be a good student, and hopefully we're a good teacher. So we bring them along 6-7 months old. We put them through about a 3 to 4 month program. They're all on the electric collar. We teach them how to work the collar, how to use the collar, how to understand the pressure. We just don't put it on and start pushing the button. They go through months of training to understand the do's and don'ts. We put them through that program. We're constantly training. They're getting bird shot with them, for them, all week long. We might train some Saturdays. Almost every Sunday they're off. All the dogs need a break. We need a break. Some things don't go so good. Sometimes just a week off, even for a dog, will they erase everything and they're willing to start over.
Yeah.
So we get them up. When our program is for field trial dogs, I'm really evaluating them to see if they can really go on to be the top-notch level. I got a lot of top-notch customers, clients here who want some of the best dogs in the country. And those are a lot of people that come here. They know I'm going to be honest with them and tell them, hey, this dog can do this. It can't do this. Maybe this dog just isn't cut out for this. And so many of my clients say, we'll get you another one. Not everyone can play the big-time field trial game. There's nothing wrong with that. So a lot of these dogs will go on to sell them to people. Terrific hunting dogs for people. Just outstanding.
Yeah.
And all of the things we make them do, and majority of our dogs here, before they come in here, I would say probably 95% have been house dogs.
Yeah.
They pick them up at 7, 8 weeks old, and we get them 6 months, 7 months old, and hopefully they've done a lot of the right things. Like I said, teach them certain commands, like the biggest command, no, understand what that means. And then we can enhance, okay, yes, they've done these things, and we move on, and it makes training the house dog, it's so much, I feel, so much easier to train than the dog who was sitting out in the kennel who's had nothing. He gets out once in a while to run around, go to the bathroom, gets fed, put back in. My guys here in the house, they know the rules. There's rules in here in the house. You need to follow them. But then we're always doing something with them, teaching them to learn. And you can see that many of these dogs are just sitting there staring at me while I'm sitting in the chair watching, hey, let's do something. And, you can just see it. Then the one who's come in here who's never been in, boy, he finally gets loose, and all he wants to do is just run and be kind of crazy. And, finally I'm loose. My guys that we have raised, being loose, run around out in the yard, in the house. These, Jim, you never have a rope or a lead or anything dragging. No, they don't run away. They're so used to being loose all the time, and they know the rules. Stick around. And so being here in the house is no big deal. And I just make them be a good citizen. You don't want to come over to my house, my dog's jumping on you, barking, jumping on furniture, running around, nipping at you. No one wants a dog like that. I want to take them places and do things with them.
And by the way, everybody, if you do want that, come over to my house.
Come over. Okay.
No, it's interesting hearing you and what you're talking about. George Hickox was one of the first people who really convinced me that a dog is learning from day one, and that we need to take advantage of that, especially the younger half of a dog's life, even the earliest half of a dog's life. And you're talking about the same thing. And I want you to tell us what we should be doing with our dogs before that we bring them to you. You mentioned one command or whatever. I guess no is a command. But what are the other things that we can do, whether, pointer, flusher, waterfowl dog, it doesn't matter. What are the things that we can do to shape a young dog before we bring it to a pro trainer?
I like to get them 7, 8 weeks old. People say, when do you start training? I said, the day we get them.
Yeah.
They start teaching them to be crate trained. Every time they come out of our dogs stay in a crate at night. They're in the crate some during the day. We put them in and out.
Yeah.
So they get used to living in a crate. That's that's their bed. And as soon as we let them outside we go. We're starting to teach them. I teach my dogs certain places to go to the bathroom. We got to go up over the hill here into the higher cover. And now when dogs get a little bit older, my dogs open the door, they run up over the hill in the higher cover, they go to the bathroom, and back they come. So we start that. It's the routine every day. I'm always, then I start teaching them little things to sit. Might be just for a little treat, little piece of dog food, getting that eye contact, getting them, and I start working on the retrieving. We're always throwing things here in the house, and the dogs, there's toys all over the place here. Little bones, tennis balls, socks. I got a couple of these little teddy bears. Puppies just love them. And we're just constantly getting that for us to get that retrieve. Want them to do it. if you have problems coming back, or the way we throw, even my kids know it. My girls know this. My girls are really good with it. We start throwing, the teddy bear or a sock or a tennis ball down the hallway. There's only one place to go. I'm at the end of the hall. Come on back. So they pick it up and run. They can't run away. They start learning to come right back to you. So we teach them things like that. Little things like they're never allowed to grab you. Grab onto you, with their mouth, nip at you, grab onto your socks, grab onto your pants. Like, we're just never allowed to grab onto you. It's just, people think that's kind of neat as a little puppy, but then they start growing up and they start realizing, hey, I can, grab a hold of you a little bit. So that's never allowed.
Yeah.
Same thing when we start going outside. We start using the word here for them to come. People will say come, also they'll get angry with it, come here. So we always just use the word here to come to you, and then heel to walk with you. And we start that real young. When we go outside, a lot of times my guys will have a little 5-6 foot rope dragging on behind them, 10 weeks old, 12 weeks old. If we're having problems for them coming back, I don't walk to the dog. I walk to the end grab that end of the rope, and I just get a little tug. Here, come on, here. And if you kneel down, you're not so intimidating. Dogs will start coming to you if you kneel. Oh, yeah, hey, and they come to you, pet him up. Hey, that's what we wanted. Good boy, pet him up. He starts going away, running away a little bit. I grab down the rope. Hey, here. Does he really know it? All of a sudden he turns over. That's what we want, attaboy. And it doesn't hurt to have a little treat or something in your pocket to give to them. But then we start carrying those things out into the field. And at little on, I'm starting to get my dogs into birds. I got pigeon wings, duck wings, live pigeons. Teach them to start chasing a live bird. Get that smell of feathers in their nose. Hey, this is what you're after. And we're always, here's one thing I think is very important, Scott, with young dogs. You've got to socialize them. We take them everywhere. We go for rides in the car. My girls aren't kids anymore. They're 25 and 22. Play softball and volleyball. Our puppies, when we as parents, we go and watch. And everyone will see, a lot of people see them there with a puppy or another dog. We bring the dog or two along. They get used to so many people. And again, when all those people, dogs will start jumping, and they want to jump in the face of other young kids. So we start working on that. Hey, be a good citizen. You don't have to jump on everything. You have to behave yourself when you're. And when you start doing those little things, boy, it pays off, because that first year of training is some of the most important things you can do with a young dog.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I'm Scott Linden. That's Jim Van Engen at Right Start Kennel. This is the Upland Nation podcast. Jim, you're talking all around something that I think is part of your whole philosophy, whether you describe it this way or not, and that is you are the hero. I call it the bringer of birds with me and my dog, and I saw it again last weekend. And I'll share that story if we get really, really bored later. But all the good stuff happens when the dogs are around you. Am I in the right
You hit it right on the head. I want them to think I'm the neatest guy they know. I'm the most fun. When they spot me, we're going to go and do something.
Yeah.
When we go for a walk. Some people, you might not have a lot of property. We do here. We got all kinds of ponds. So my dogs are in the water swimming from little on till it gets too cold. I still got one here who's 6 months old. Well, there's a lot of ice on the one. He still likes to hop in, and I don't make him. He just likes to go in and swim around. But when he spots me, he'll come there and sit in front of me and look. Jim's putting on his boots and that. We're going out to do something. They can't wait. So when they're little, I try to do quite a bit with them. But you can see when they start getting bored, it's time to quit.
Yeah.
Don't try forcing too much on them at a young age. If they want more, do a little bit more. When you can tell us they start going off to something else, just time to quit. Go on to something, do something different with them. So I'm always challenging them to be a good student, learn something new. So I think that is, well, you're so right. I mean, you got to be the neatest guy in their life.
And the other thing I've noticed is, well, a good friend of mine who was a behaviorist in our world for years and years learned all he knew from wolves. He called it being a greedy owner. If you are drilling that poor dog too many times on anything in particular, you're doing it for yourself, not for the dog. And like you said, the dog starts phoning it in or something like that. But what are some of those indications for you? When is a dog bored with what you're trying to work with him on?
We're constantly throwing things for them that we want that retrieve for, 95% of what I do is retrievers.
Yeah.
I do a couple pointing dogs. Most of those are my own.
Mm-hmm.
But for my retrievers, they to play this game, you got to have a ton of desire to go out as far, 400 or 500 yards to retrieve a bird 2-3 times and big swims. They have to really want this. So we're trying to build that up. How do I recognize that, Scott? From having over 1,500 puppies, you just know. And you can see also, hey, you're throwing something, the dog goes out, maybe kind of wanders away and says, I've kind of had enough. Time to quit.
Yeah.
Don't say, let's do 2-3 more. It'd be like, I really never liked jogging. So if I went out and jogged more, would I like it more? More than likely not, So, I'll go and take the long walks, take the dogs, play a little basketball and stuff like it. But I didn't like jogging, so everyone's, jog some more. I really wouldn't like it more then. So it's the same with the dogs. You got to get to that. What I like, and you're going to find out doing young dogs.
Yeah.
When you get that dog home, I get the best work out of my puppies early in the morning. When we come out of the crate in the morning, first thing we do is to the door and go to the bathroom. The dogs got to go to the bathroom, run around, do their business. And then I start with a lot of retrieving. My girls will throw for me. My wife will throw for me. And they come out, they want to do something. I've been in that crate quite a while during the night. I come out, let's go do something. I found over the years that other people say, geez, I get home from work, I go to take the puppy out, and they're just really not all that interested. So you got to do a lot of these things before work. Was the puppy in the house with your family? Maybe your kids were playing with it. They're running on around. It took all the energy out of it. So when the morning's coming on out, boy, that's by far when I get the best work out of my puppies. And if they want to do some more in the afternoon, great. When I'm watching, you can say, they need to sleep. They need to get away from it. They need to sit and watch. My dogs are very lucky that put them on a little chain. They sit and watch the rest of the dogs being worked. And some of the dogs, puppies are watching. Some are sleeping. Doesn't mean you have a bad dog. They just need to grow up. So you got to, watch it when he says, it looks like he's kind of wandering. He doesn't really want it. Okay, maybe that was your 5th retrieve for that morning. Yeah. So you got to, okay, maybe at 4, I know with this dog I got to quit. So don't try putting too. And if I can do a little more in the afternoon after work or something, maybe a few more. Okay, that's enough. They need to grow up and be a puppy, just like kids. They're a lot like kids. And I used to teach school. Dogs and kids are a lot alike.
Well, when I used to teach school, there was a term back when I was learning to be a teacher called learning readiness. And it develops at different ages in different children. But I think the same thing with a puppy. We're simplifying, of course, but they do get ready to accept new and more challenging skills as they arrive at certain points in their mental and emotional journey. We're going to talk more about that and some Labrador specific stuff, but also some field skills for any dog. And as you mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about your your adventure into the pointing dog world as well. So that's all coming up. I'm Scott Linden. That is Jim Van Engen with Right Start Kennel, and you can find him at that, rightstartkennel.com. We have more, including the Fix It segment, where I'll talk about shooting strategy. Jim will be back with us. We'll also have that word of the week and a chance to win that Sage and Breaker gun cleaning mat coming up right after a brief commercial message. Brought to you here in part by HighVisSights.com. Once again, I described that gloomy, steep ravine on that last quail hunt, and man, I was hitting well. And the reason I was hitting well is because I had that light pipe on the muzzle of my shotgun. You cannot miss it, so you don't have to look at it. You see what I mean? Watch the video at HighVisSights.com. Your mind will see the muzzle. You can create the relationship between the muzzle and the flying target without having to, quote, aim, unquote. That's the whole idea. Interchangeable colors for different conditions. Learn more at HighVisSights.com. And at the end of that day, just like every other day of every other hunt, I'm spraying my shotguns with Sage and Breakers CLP. You know, the temperature was up, the temperature was down. We got condensation in the barrel on all the metal parts. CLP is what I use to keep my gun free from corrosion, greatly less willing to accept dust on it, and clean. SageandBreaker.com. Learn more about all they have to offer you. And sign up for the mailing list. You won't miss out on future sales and new products. And welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast. Jim Van Engen joins me from Right Start Kennel, Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Am I saying that right? I've always said it that way, Jim.
You're right. Just like it's Sheboygan Falls,
okay.
Wisconsin.
All right. Yeah. Are there any falls? It's like Great Falls. There used to be falls. I don't know if there are anymore.
There are a couple of them. Yes, that's how it got its name. You know, just like a she boy again, and it came from an old Indian name. So that's how it said Sheboygan. I
love it. You're out there most of the year. You know, up until recently, you were training. You know, I'm going to describe it this way, and I mean this in the best way because I've been there and done that. You know, if you wanted to play in the World Series, you didn't just waltz onto the field. You paid your dues in the short season single A league, and then you got booted up to a double A league, and eventually you got kicked into the bigs. You are the wizard at that double A level that creates all the skills. You're Kevin Costner in Bull Durham, teaching all the young kids how to do things right so that when they get their big chance, they're ready for it. You think I'm on the right track there?
It's funny that you say that, because I explained to a lot of people to try to understand what we do. I said, you know, there was a lot of us who played basketball in 5th and 6th grade, 7th and 8th junior high, and some of us went on and played in high school, and some were good enough, went on to college, and there's a few more, very few went on to play in the big leagues. I said, that's what we're trying to do here, is play in the big leagues. Evaluate these dogs to go on to be big-time field trial dogs. So that's a lot, exactly what you just said. What we do here is evaluate, try to push them to become really a good athlete, and move on and move up the ladder here in the field trial game.
Well, let's get away from the field trial world for a moment, because most of us will never do that except so that we could say we did it once.
Okay.
But we expect a lot of the same behaviors out of our dog when we're on a duck hunt or when we're hunting rough grouse in the woods. Even the breed of dog is less important than certain things that we should probably expect and train for. if you're training a Labrador for just a schlub like me who wants to hunt upland birds and some ducks and geese as well, go to the field, to dry land. How are we going to, for example, keep our dog in range so that we get some decent shots once in a while?
That starts very young when you're taking your dog for walks. We're always taking puppies for walks. It just came in here a couple hours ago. The 6-month-old and my short hair is for a long walk, and just when it starts getting out too far, I just hey, here, and I might, and if they want to get out too far, I might have a dummy, a dog training bumper dummy, whatever you want to call it, in your hand.
Oh, I thought you meant I was with you.
They're looking at, I'm just, hey, I pitch it up in the air. Oh, I want that. And here they come running. Hey, so I want them a lot to be looking over their shoulder and see where I am.
Yeah.
At times, I might even just hide behind a tree. Yeah. People go, hey. And all of a sudden they look back. Oh boy, where is he? And you can see him come running. If I see that a lot, I'm hiding a little bit more. Hey, keep looking for me. Let's stay together. We're a team here now. Let's stay together. And you don't have to be out a couple hundred yards in front of me. I don't want that. So as when I'm walking also, Scott, I'm just kind of zigzagging back and forth through the field. So they start getting the idea to start quartering. It also helps when you're doing that into the wind. Dogs will kind of a little bit naturally start to quarter if you go into the wind versus the wind at your back. So while we're doing this, I might be pitching a dummy on out. And they come through, will come past me. All of a sudden the nose goes up. They kind of smell it. Oh, hey, come on, find it, fetch it up. And also, they got, hey, good dog, got away. That's what we're looking for. And then they start, okay, he's always zigzagging. They're always looking at me. Oh, he's staying to the front of me. And I just keep going. And I'm doing that when they're little in really short cover.
Yeah.
So they're too small. If you're going to go in, don't be going in real heavy cover with a younger dog, say 4, 5, 6, because they're going to start walking behind you. Go and cover, a lot of things we do here is right on my cut lawn to start with. We're throwing dummies. We're throwing birds for them to pick up. And as they get better, we're going to a little bit more cover and a little bit more cover. And then we start teaching them the quarter and walk, and knowing what here means, walking at heel, always paying attention. Where is he? And that's also, then, Scott, how we start introducing the gunfire.
Good.
You don't want to be starting shooting, and we use all blank pistols to start with. And we want the dog to be out of ways before we shoot the pistol. You don't want to be shooting the pistol right next to them. Sure. Dogs are not born gun shy. Most of the time they're made gun shy. Because someone, I'm going to see if he's gun shy, I'm going to shoot the gun right next to him. Well, good chance you're going to make them gun shy. So we always, every time there's a shot, they're always getting something.
Okay.
So they hear a bang. Oh, yeah. I get a bumper. I get a bird. Now we're using a lot of birds. I mean, I go through a lot of ducks and pheasants and pigeons here. So my puppies are constantly. So I'll have a guy stand out when they're little, 10, 12 weeks old. He's maybe 10 yards away from me. And he just gives a hey, and he pitches out a bumper, a white bumper. They can see it on my cut yard. He runs out, picks it up, and hopefully he runs back. We call that a mark. So that the puppy picks it up, hopefully comes back. If he doesn't always want to come back, I start walking away from the puppy. Don't walk towards him. Walk away from him. Puppy also see you starting. Oh, he's going to. He's leaving. I better follow him. He'll pick it up. You bend down. When the puppy gets close to you, you're on one knee. Let him keep the bird or the bumper in his mouth. Don't quick grab it. Start petting him a little bit while he has the bird or bumper in his mouth. If you start reaching for it and want to quick grab it, they're going to start flaring away from you. They're not going to bring it. So my dogs will come right between my legs. They're hanging on to it. I'm petting them on up. Hey, that away. And then my bird thrower, he might go out another 10 yards, 15 yards away, and we throw another white bumper. He goes, hey. We pitch it on out, picks it up, hopefully comes running back to me. I let him hang on to it. I'm petting up. Hey, that a boy knocks. That's what I'm looking for, And then also maybe he starts getting bored with it. What do? You quit. Yeah. You're done. He's had enough. But those are all little things. And as he gets better, with that short little retrieves, we start going out a little bit further and a little bit further. And why do I have people throwing for me? Very simple. When we're out hunting, I'll see people come out, and you can throw a dummy, pitch a bumper fairly far, and I'll see dogs who come here, and they always just maybe go 30 yards. And they learn just, okay, I never have to go far. That's all as far as I hunt. So we start teaching dogs to go, 50 yards, 75, 100 yards. So they learn to mark where the dummy lands, and they go and get it, that they can go out further. So we're stretching them out as they get older and then teaching them to come right back with it. And then we're mixing in birds. You'll find out with the young dogs, you start throwing birds and then you want to throw a dummy. A lot of times they don't want to pick up the dummy. They're looking for a bird. So either you use all dummies or all birds. You start trying to mixing and matching. A lot of times it doesn't work. Once they've had feathers in their mouth, and then you throw a bird, they pick it up. Next time you're going to throw a bumper or a dummy, whatever you want to call it. They're going to we call blinking it. He's kind of, oh yeah, I saw it, but I'm really looking for a bird. So, use one or the other. Well, I use a lot of dummies, and then next day I use a lot of birds. I
see. So you can still rotate, but not in the same session. All right. Yeah.
You can start off throwing a dummy, and then start throwing birds. But then if you want to go right away, go back to a dummy, I would say 80% of the time, no, I'm looking for a bird. I don't want the plastic or the canvas. Mm-hmm. So you can go from dummies to birds, but you can't go from birds to dummies in the same sequence.
I get it. Where does and describe what you might use? Some people call it force breaking. Some people call it the conditioned retrieve. Clue us in a little bit to how you handle all that.
I think we missed out on one thing, Scott.
Yeah.
On the last one with that pistol.
Yeah.
That's I think I didn't touch enough on that. So when I have that helper out of ways and he throws something, and hopefully I'm about 20, 30 yards away, and the guy is kind of shooting that pistol down on the ground or next to his leg. It's a blank pistol.
Sure.
That they start hearing that gunfire at a distance.
Yeah.
Not next to me. So all of a sudden you hear that bang, and you're going to see that puppy also start looking all around. Now, what was that? You just got to keep doing that. And eventually you hear all of a sudden bang, and then we throw something. Just like you would be, typically on a hunt. Up goes a bird and bang. So they start hearing something. They know there's always pretty good chance, depends what kind of shot you are, that you get a retrieve.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. Don't be shooting right next to the dog.
No, absolutely.
Not when you're starting. Very, very important with young dogs. Very important.
I did a video, by the way, if you want to watch it, it's at midwayusa.com, on exactly that topic and how distance, you can decrease the distance eventually, but you got to start at a great distance. And
Scott, you can even start banging pots and pans a little bit together. When you're feeding your dog, when you're getting ready to feed, I bang them together and I go, oh, it's feeding time, and a bang, bang, bang. That's a little thing that builds up to a bigger thing of shooting a gun.
Exactly. They get conditioned to noise.
There you go.
Noise is a signal that something good is going to happen.
That's right. So next, you're mentioning about force fetch.
Yeah.
All right. So every dog, so there's over 15, every one of them get force fetched here. Every one. And that's a tough one to explain to someone on something what we're doing here right now. For the first person trying to do it, if you can get a little video or something and watch it,
sure,
it'd be terrific for you. Terrific.
But
I learn a lot from force fetch. I learn a ton of each dog. I do majority of them because it gives me a lot of sense what this dog can take.
Yeah.
How he's going to understand a bunch of other things we're going to do with him. So Some dogs are, maybe a little dog is really tough to force, and I get some big dog, he can't take much at all. But I do everything up on a table.
Yeah.
Right? Or you can do it on, I tell other people, do it on the tailgate of your truck.
Yeah.
I like to get them off just the regular ground, the grass. If they get up on a platform or something, they're a little more insecure. And so I just have a cable across, so they're chained to that, to their collar, to that cable, which goes across the table. And I make them just sit up there, and then I teach them to hold. I'm doing that right now with a puppy. I just did it this morning. It takes me 3 to 4 days. I make them hold something in their mouth. It's usually a dowel. Important thing here, do not start off using a bird. Do not start off using a dummy to teach them to hold. I want those objects that they like them a lot. I don't want them to think this is a bad training thing. So I use something else. I use a wooden dowel.
Yeah.
Which they're never going to have to hardly ever retrieve. I'm never going to be out hunting something like that. So I don't want them to think that can be my bad tool. Force fetch is not, it's difficult for myself. It is difficult for the dog. But once you had a dog that is really completely force fetch, to me, it's never have one without it. I can always count on them for a good retrieve, to deliver right to hand, to not be molding the bird, chewing on the bird. If they're properly force fetched, they'll pick things up, bring them right back, not drop them. They come here and sit in front of me and deliver to hand. I've seen it before, people that have it, someone else shoots, they drop the bird and off they go, and they leave the bird they were supposed to retrieve, just lay there, and now you have to try to go and find it. So it takes me 3 to 4 days, Scott, to teach them how to hold. So it's in their mouth. I got my hand underneath their chin a little bit, and I'm repeating the command a lot. Hold, hold, hold.
Sure. I'm
kind of tapping on the bumper a little, not the bumper, but the dowel a little bit, and really teaching that to keep that in their mouth and make sure their lip is not over their teeth, so that you're squeezing their mouth a little bit. Their lip is not over their teeth, so it's kind of biting into their lip. So I make sure their lip is up. So they're holding on to that. And then when they're doing that well, and that's typically going to take you 3 to 4 days, you can do that in the morning. You can do it again in the evening, a couple times a day. And then from there, then I start pinching their ear. And usually they're going to whine and cry some. And I hopefully open their mouth. And as soon as they open their mouth, I release the pinch. They have the dowel in their mouth. I'm saying the word fetch a couple of times. Fetch, 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 pinch. Fetch, fetch, fetch. Pinch their ear. They're a little, a quick stick the dowel in their mouth. After a while, they should start to realize, hey, as soon as I'm grabbing that ear, they start moving to grab that dowel.
Sure.
And then they get it out of your hand. As soon as they're getting it out of your hand, which is going to be 2-3 feet off the table, I'm quick going down to the ground, so that they realize they got to pick things up off the ground, not always just pick it up out of my hand. So I'm moving back and forth around that table. And again, I'm doing that. We're in doing force fetch 5-10 minutes, make them hold it, walk back and forth with it, fetch. I'm always using the dowel. And after a while, when things get good, then I'm starting to use a frozen bird, typically a pigeon that we've shot, days before. And so they get used to, you're going to have to do that again with a bird, because now they got to get used to holding feathers in their mouth. Mm-hmm. It's a different object. So it's quite the procedure I go through. If you've never done it, you need to get, see a DVD or see something about it. It's a bit hard to explain. I'm hoping to get a little bit of idea of the process. But 3-4 days of holding, and it could take another week or two of, you say fetch, pinch your ear a little bit, they reach and grab it. And once they're good on the table, then I have to go to the ground and walk around in the yard, fetch, make them pick things up. This I like to do, Scott, always my puppies, once they lose their puppy teeth,
All right.
the little canines.
Yeah.
Once those are gone, don't try doing it before that. They're too young. And their teeth are sharp. And if you see their mouth is maybe their gums are bleeding a little bit, their mouth is really sore from their puppy teeth falling out. They're going to lose their puppy teeth naturally. But when you want to see their regular canines coming through, typically will be about 6-7 months old.
Okay. Good.
And if you can start younger, it's a lot easier to do it at 6-7 months old than waiting till they're a year and a half old. It's a lot easier.
No doubt about it. Hey, let's switch gears. One of the things that really surprised me was when you admitted to coming over to the dark side and bringing a short hair into the fold. What is a guy who's made a living training retrieving breeds doing with a pointing breed?
I love watching them. I mean, I just love the looks and everything about it. While going for a walk and watching them doing it, pointing birds naturally. I've had pointing dogs now probably 40, 45 years. I've done a few for people. Majority of them are my own. I go to, again, I'm one of them. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to go to good people and watch what they're doing. I'm going to do the right thing and learn from them. And then hopefully I don't mess up my own. So I think, I don't want to, same in my game, I don't want to go to someone who's not doing well. I'm going to go to the best people I can find. What makes these people click? And that was the same thing I did with my pointers. So I always have pointing dogs. I have one laying here in the house right now. I have a German Shorthair. My brother has an English Setter, and another good friend of mine has a wire hair. And we hunt a lot together, and they can go out, they can find birds, they can back one another. They all retrieve. My dogs, my short hairs, my wife used to take them to those dock diving championships. They were terrific at it. And my kids take them. Times we'd ride with our horses, our dogs, running along with them. Also, when we go grouse hunting, I think it's a lot easier with a pointing dog. My labs also would flush them, and I heard a flush, but I didn't always get a shot. Me not always being the best shot at least gives me a chance to get ready.
Yeah.
And I play a different game. I play a little bit of the NSTRA game, National Shoot to Retrieve Association, with my pointing dogs. And I run that game, and I kind of hunt my dogs a lot, the same as that game is played. So I still, when I'm done with my labs during the day, many times at night, I'm going out with my short hair, planting a pigeon, just watching them point, teaching them to be steady to wing and shot. I just love watching them. I love their look, how they can be so rigid on point, and I can walk around and kick around and up go. I just love watching it. So,
well, let's talk quickly about that. And that is the whole idea of steadiness. And we all have a different definition of that. But you as an analytical type who's got kind of a different perspective than a lot of folks on steadiness, on pointing breeds, is there anything in particular you do to ensure that your dog figures out that it's best for all of us if they hold that point?
What I do, I have a lot of the traps, the remote controlled traps. Mm-hmm. My dogs drag, I don't know, what is it, 15, 20-foot rope.
Yeah.
And I'm also, Scott, I train a lot of my pointers to do a lot of the same retrieves, the same kind of things I do with my retrievers.
Sure, yeah.
They stand here in the yard. I got them. I don't make my pointers sit till they're much older. I make them just to stand. I say the word, I say whoop. I don't say whoa. I say, people use whoa. I say whoop for them to stand. I use the word no so much, so I think and whoa to me sound too much alike.
I agree.
So I say whoop. And I think it's totally different. So I have them stand whoop at my side, and the guy throws. I wait. I say their name. That's their release to go and get it. Then we use, the same thing. The guy's out of ways. We throw something. He shoots a pistol. I make the dog stay standing there. Whoop. I'm repeating the command. Whoop, whoop. And I say, Roxy, that's my dog's name. She can go when she hears her name called. So I do the same thing, and I start teaching her, and then I do the same thing when I'm planting. I use homing pigeons. I have a few homing pigeons here. I plant them around the property. I typically like to go out maybe a half hour before and put them out.
Yeah.
The pointing dogs are pretty good at following my footsteps, and okay, here it is. And I think if I can get a little less scent, remember, people, this is all fake. We're using pigeons that I'm hanging on to. I typically wear gloves. I'm putting the bird out, so I try to get away from my scent being out there a little bit less. So that dog goes in, and as soon as my pointer's on point, she spins around, makes game, boom, she points solid. As soon as that dog takes one more step, I hit that remote, boom, up goes the pigeon. I'm typically hanging onto the rope when they're younger, and it kind of slides through my hands some because she doesn't know yet to be all steady the wing and shot. So I let her kind of chase a little bit, but not a whole lot. So I slowly, as they get better, I make them stand there longer as the bird goes up. And then after a while, I'm shooting a pistol as they get better. That's usually, 8, 9, 10 months old. So I'm not putting any pressure on them. I want them to look good on point. I want them. I'm looking for all that style. Is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah, I get it, and it's right in my wheelhouse, and of course, always working on the same things. One thing that I learned recently is rather than let the rope slide through your hands, picking up the rope and running along, and then gently redirecting that dog back to where they started.
Neat.
Starts to make a lot of sense. And then if you follow that idea, there's another bird waiting for him right there.
Mm-hmm. I've also had guys that told me, Scott, put 2, 3 birds out.
Yeah, exactly.
As I'm walking in, I'm dropping a homing pigeon right at my leg around the trap house. Oh, up went one.
Yeah.
And as they get better, they're older now. My guy said, I'm going to say 10, 11 months old. And then I pop another one. Oh boy, there were 2 birds there.
Yeah. So
maybe next time I got 3. Maybe I got 3 pigeons.
So I better not break at the first bird because there might be more here. Right. I hope that's the rationale.
I teach my guys pretty much once the shot goes off, then my guys can go.
Yeah.
I'm not always the best shot. So if I wing one, hopefully they're close to it and retrieve it. And then I hunt with so many people and cousins and that want to use the dogs when the shot goes off and they know they can go. But when I'm doing in training, I'm making them stay there a little bit longer, but they know the difference between playing this fake game of putting pigeons out versus going hunting wild birds. It's a different game. You're doing different. You got to admit, Scott, you're doing different training. That first year, many times, I'm letting my friends shoot and I'm working my dog. Okay, that first year, let's get this thing all done right.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't how many birds I can get. It's making the dog do the right thing. And
there you have it. Well, we could talk the rest of the day, but you got things to do. I got even more things to do this week. So I'm going to congratulate you again, Jim Van Engen, on your nomination and soon to be awarded what do we call it? The Retriever Hall of Fame.
Right. It's also the Retriever, Bird Dog, Spaniel Hall of Fame in Grand Junction, Tennessee. Quite
a facility, and can't wait to get back there. So good on you for that. For so many dogs that have gotten to such high levels, thanks in large part to the right start. Jim Van Engen, if you want to learn more about what he's doing, it's Right Start Kennel. Pretty easy. Thanks for being a part of the Upland Nation podcast, Jim.
I love that. It was nice talking to you.
Ditto. Have a great day.
Thank you.
And don't you go away. We have lots more to talk about here. We'll have the word of the week and your crack at that shotgun cleaning mat from sageandbreaker.com. And our Fix It segment, a little bit of hunting strategy, learned the hard way, that might help you put another bird in the bag. It's all coming up after this from TrueLockChokes.com. Those Chad Hodge Upland chokes are now ready to move from TrueLock to U-Lock. You've heard Scott TrueLock talking about them and how carefully they worked at coming up with what they think is the best set of choke tubes for upland hunters. Chad knows his stuff. Scott knows how to make it, turn it into reality. Precision made, tightest tolerances in the industry. They use the gear that is used for so many other high-tech manufacturing processes. Lifetime warranty, satisfaction guarantee. Learn more at TrueLockChokes.com. And remember the old, let's see, who was it? Light beer? Great taste, less filling. Well, Pro Plan Sport dog food from Purina has that great taste, and it's filling plenty for my dog Flick and for all the elite athletes in your kennel as well. Only one brand is responsible for fueling most of the sporting dog champions. It's Purina Pro Plan Sport. You want to learn more about the science behind the dog food? Go to ProPlansport.com. Well, Fix It this week might put another bird in your bag every once in a while. I've learned it the hard way, especially this season. You know where I hunt. It's pretty much vertical, and the dog is going up that route a little bit faster than me. The risk becomes, what if Flick is pointing a quail or a chucker or a hun? Lots of huns this year. Way up there, and it's going to take me a while to get there. Well, these days, and this year in particular, I've been a little bit more cognizant of that. You know, if I can't see him, I'll look at my collar transmitter and figure out whether he's on point or not. If he is, here's what I'm doing. I'm trying to first head in that general direction, of course, but I'm also trying to head that way while picking a route up the hill that is the likeliest route the fleeing birds will take when they flush. If I don't get there in time, dog did his job, birds fly early because it's taking you 10 minutes to go up the hill. Well, get in their flight path. I know that sounds logical, but most of us don't think about that. We don't know, we're not thinking about where the birds are going to go. They're going to go around an obstacle, put that between them and the dog. They're going to come downhill most of the time. They're going to go to a kind of a ravine, a draw, whatever, so they can use aerodynamics as much as they can. Set yourself up for that. So if nothing else, if everything goes right, but you're not there in time, you just might get a passing shot. I hope to talk in detail about that real soon in a bonus episode, but this last Wednesday, every shot I got was a downhill passing shot. Now, I was up by the dog sometimes, but all the shots I took were coming downhill toward me. All right. Well, I hope that helps. Maybe you'll get a little bit more success out of that. It's now time for our Fur Feathers Friends Word of the Week. Remember, Fur Feathers Friends is all about finding someone you'd like to take hunting, and your excuse being, hey, come watch my dog. Whether it's a lapsed hunter, a family member, a newbie of one sort or another, Fur Feathers Friends is your incentive. And to sweeten the deal, two things: monthly prizes and the grand prize, a 4-pack of pointer shotguns. Your choice, over and under or side by side, in all 4 of the popular gauges. Go to furfeathersfriends.com to enter. Scroll down to the bottom, fill out the form, add the word of the week to be entered to win the monthly prizes. And this week, the word is pheasant. Pheasant is the word of the week. This month, the prize is a Sage and Breaker shotgun cleaning mat at furfeathersfriends.com. And that part of the show brought to you by Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School. About this time of year, maybe you're thinking about a lesson. If you're coming through Western Oregon, it's a great place for that because everybody who teaches shooting there is also a hunter. If you're looking for a new shotgun, MidValleyClays.com is Subgauge Central. Always a good stock of 20, 28, and 410s. Call Dave Fiedler. He knows guns and hunting, and he can get you shotguns that a lot of people cannot get. They'll ship anywhere. Start with a phone call. Tell him what you're looking for. Ask his advice on gauge, style, brand at MidValleyClays.com. Well, thank you, Jim Van Engen. RightStartKennel.com is where you learn more about Jim's philosophy and all the accolades he's received. Congratulations again, Jim, on that Hall of Fame nomination. Can't wait to learn more from you. And I hope you all learned something as well. If you did, please tell one person. That's how we grow around here. You can do me a big favor by leaving a review or a rating at Apple Podcasts. That's the best way to expose this podcast to other podcast listeners. Thank you to our sponsors. They make this entire production possible. High-Vis Shooting Systems, Pointer Shotguns, MidwayUSA.com, Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food, Sage and Breaker Gun Care Products. Always new information that might be of value to you at findbirdhuntingspots.com. Until we talk again right here, thanks for listening. I'm Scott Linden, and this is the Upland Nation Podcast.